Tales of Xillia 2 is an RPG from Japanese developer and publisher Bandai Namco, sent to remind us that yes, games are still being released for the PS3. The Tales series has always been a bit different, often sacrificing pure processing power and flashy graphics in the name of storytelling and engrossing combat. But is that recipe still worth sampling? Although Xillia 2 is, as the name implies, a sequel, you won't have to worry about getting lost here. There's an extensive library in-game, though the characters you meet will progressively bring you up to speed too. If you've played any of the games in the series before, you'll notice that Xillia 2, like its predecessors, has a great sense of humor.
Pretty cool, right?
No, it's not cool.
Yeah, you'll never get a girlfriend looking like that.
Man, always busting my chops.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, granting plenty of funny moments between the characters. It's not a game you play with a hardened look on your face like Final Fantasy. The characters interact naturally, forming and developing relationships like actual people, so you don't feel like you're traveling with a bunch of walking JRPG archetypes.
Those aren't articles, they're just dramatic headlines. You can't write a story to match a predetermined conclusion.
Hey, professional journalists don't accept unsolicited advice from amateurs, mister.
The game relies on a choice system. As the protagonist Luger Kresnik moves through the story, you're presented with choices that affect your companion's reactions and their opinion of Luger. Now, other RPGs have done this before, and they've done it better. But the fact that there's even options in a Japanese-style RPG is a big deal, since most just give you a linear path to walk. But even more critical to Xillia 2 is the combat. It relies on real-time actions instead of turn-based, so you're in control of how the battle goes pretty much all of the time. Luger's also really versatile, eventually having 3 different weapons in his arsenal. Battles are frantic and fast-paced, often lasting under 10 seconds, but they still require you to think. Attack with the wrong weapon and you won't do much damage. Forget to block and you'll be knocked on your back. And if you ever feel like really changing it up, you can control any of your companions in battle. Now, it must be said, the fully animated cutscenes are gorgeous. If only more of Bandai's budget for these games went into polishing the regular environments, they could make some really beautiful PS4 games. This last good point I'm on the fence with. Luger incurs a debt of 20 million gold at the beginning of the game. It makes the money you collect a lot more meaningful than it would be otherwise, but it does suck to give up so much of it so often. Man, are you going to be grinding for that cash? Most times you'll have to pony up a certain amount of money to your debt collector so you can progress through the main story, which slows the pace of the game way down.
Wow. Looks like I can lift another one of those pesky travel restrictions.
You're going to be spending a lot of time collecting inane job assignments in exchange for paltry sums of gold. You'll often replay job types too. Worse is that you'll be visiting a few areas for these jobs way too often, so you'll see the same backdrops and enemies repeated ad nauseum. And speaking of boring, our main man Luger Kresnik is a man of very few words. He's the series' first silent lead, and I know it's done because of the choice system implemented in Xillia 2, but this kind of system has been done before in other games with fully voiced lines and scenes. You get choices in most situations, but you never hear how Luger delivers the lines, so you miss all the tone and the emotion. Well, just look at it. Now, Tales has never been a series terribly concerned with graphics, but this is probably the worst looking game you'll see all year. Even though the game was originally released in 2012 over in Japan, Xillia 2 doesn't even run natively in 720p, and it has a lot of blurring issues outside of battles. If you're a fan of the series, you'll love it. If you're new but you still like Japanese RPGs in general, you'll find a lot to love here too. But if one of your highest priorities in a game is graphics, you may want to keep moving.
I'll meet you there, I promise.